Hey everybody, I hope you're all doing well. I'm assuming that by now you've seen my announcement that you probably got in an email from the class suggesting that we're going to move back the deadline for module number 6 a week until next Tuesday. And my decision to do that was really around the fact that I've gotten lots of questions over the last couple days about specific components of the sponsorship proposal that makes me think we need to sort of slow down a little bit and refocus and make sure we're all on the same page before we continue to move forward. So that being said, I wanted to just illustrate one thing first, and that is in the last module's feedback that I gave you. I think for almost every single group, I suggested that you needed to be very, very clear about your marketing plan objectives. So every one of your marketing plans needs to be aiming to do something, right? So are you going to use it to sell more tickets, to solicit sponsors, to increase participation in your organization or event? What is it that your marketing plan is intended to do? Once you have identified that objective, the rest of it will be a lot easier to sort of put everything in line. So then your promotional activities will all be in line with your one objective that you're trying to achieve. The same thing goes also with the sponsorship proposal that you're working on in module number 6. So obviously you need to have an overall objective before you start selecting sponsors in order to make sure that it makes sense for both parties. So in order to do that, first be really clear on your marketing objectives. The second piece is as you're selecting sponsors, you have to consider sponsorship opportunities that make sense for both parties. So does it make sense for Whole Foods, for example, to sponsor the Michigan Bucks? I don't know. You'd have to make that connection for me. Offhand, I would say I can't see why it would. But if you make a connection for me, then, and give me the rationale, then I can get on board with that. But so I think you need to be very specific about the types of sponsorships that you're suggesting and really be conscious about the rationale that you're giving for why they make sense. Part of that, and the very first part of this process, is establishing the value for your client's assets. So let's say hypothetically that your client was the Wayne State University Athletic Department. If by valuing their assets, you're looking at things that you can assign value to that a sponsor would be interested in. So can you put somebody's name on a jersey? Can you put a company's logo on a building? Can you put signage in your facilities? Can you value your transportation? Can you put somebody's logo on your transportation? Can you have them sponsor an event? So you have to first start by valuing assets because that's ultimately what a sponsor is interested in part. Obviously, there's some philanthropic component of this too. Companies like to do good for good's sake. But in most of the time when they're looking at sponsorship opportunities, they're also looking to get something out of it. So you have to establish value for what they can get out of a relationship with you. Once you've done this, then you're selecting 3 potential sponsors. Again, I want to see the rationale for why these sponsors make sense. You're going to do some prospecting, and I've had some questions about this, and I know depending on the type of company that you're using, you will have limited access to their information. If you're using a local bar, for example, to sponsor an event, you're not going to have access to their financials. That's okay. I don't expect you to have that. My point is that you do research on potential sponsors so that you can get to know as much as you can about them. What I'm more interested in the prospecting section is your rationale for why you're selecting that particular sponsor. Establish the sponsor's objectives for why they would be interested in marketing or sponsoring your organization or your event, and how the partnership would benefit both parties. That's particularly what I'm looking for in that section. So then once you've done that, you're going to select one of those potential sponsors to develop out a sample sponsorship package for that organization. As part of that, you're going to create the story that you would use to create the connection or the emotional bond between your client and the potential sponsor. One caveat on this is that there's a very lengthy explanation of marketing stories in the textbook. And so I know that the groups that have asked me this question a lot of times do not have access to the textbook. So it would be a lot easier if you had the textbook for the class in this particular section of the project. But you can do it without it as long as you get the general idea. So you're trying to create a connection between the sponsor and your client. And part of doing that is telling a story that makes sense. So, for example, let's go back to our example about Wayne State University Athletic Department. If you were trying to pitch Gatorade a sponsorship package to sponsor the Wayne State University Athletic Department, you would want to appeal to the values and the mission of the organization, Gatorade. So Gatorade is associated with performance and endurance and high performance, elite level performance. So you would want to tell a story that connects that with your client, Wayne State University Athletic Department, with the sponsor, so that it helps to make the connection and make the partnership make sense. And then lastly, you're creating the sponsorship package for that one client, which is going to include the benefits that they may derive from the partnership, and why partnering with your client will help them meet their marketing objectives as well. So I hope that clears it up a little bit on what particularly I'm looking for. Again, take until next Tuesday to complete the rest of the assignments. I've also, I'm going to go through and open up the rest of the course so you can see the remaining assignments, and you can work on them over your own timeline in the next couple weeks. Obviously, the due dates still stand, but you'll have a little bit more flexibility when you know everything that's coming down the pipeline for the rest of the semester all at once. I would also like to say that I'm here to help you. If everyone got an A in this class, I would be thrilled, and I'm happy to help you achieve that objective as best as I'm able. You have to ask, though. So I'm in my office most afternoons. You're welcome to Skype with me, to call, or to send me an email, and I will be as helpful as I'm able. Also, if you have questions, feel free to post them to the Q&A board. So that's it. I hope this helps, and I hope the extra week gives you enough time to put together something that you're proud of. Talk to you soon.